Hey folks, I'm Jason from Buoyant, and you are watching the Cloud Therapist channel.
Hello and welcome to the Cloud Therapist Shorts. I'm Richard Simon. This talk is all about Linkerd service mesh project from Buoyant. Linkerd project reached graduated status in 2021 and it's the only service mesh to do so. So we are going to be exploring Linkerd in a little bit more detail today. And here's Jason Morgan from Buoyant to tell us all about it. Jason is a technical evangelist at Buoyant. Good to have you back on again, Jason. It's been some time.
Yeah, too long. Great to see you again.
How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Excited to talk to folks about Linkerd.
Excellent. Well, let's drive straight in, Jason, because we have a lot to talk about.
Well, so I'm going to start off with just a little bit about what is a service mesh. So before I go too far, I'm going to plug the thing I talked about last time I was on, which is the Cloud Native Glossary. So if you go check out glossary.cncf.io/service mesh, you'll read actually what I wrote about what a service mesh is. So you're going to hear it from me every which way, but it's our official definition for it. The quicker definition with pictures is a service mesh is a tool. It's, you know, in general, I'm going to talk about it in the context of Kubernetes. And what we mean by a service mesh is there are a bunch of little proxies. In our case, because I'm talking about Linkerd, I'm going to use the Linkerd proxy. And a proxy is like a very small load balancer. And it uses a Kubernetes construct called a sidecar, right? Which is a way to put another process right beside your application process. And we set up a bunch of proxies in your cluster. They sit in between your various applications, and they do, so my boss likes to say, they do stuff with your traffic, right? And what that stuff is going to vary based on the service mesh and based on what you want, but that's what we'll be talking about today. So what I've got here is a picture of an application running in Kubernetes. So we've got, you know, our cluster represented by the big box. We have an ingress at the top. That's kind of like the front door for the cluster. That's where stuff comes from the internet into your applications. And then we're going to go from that ingress to your actual app. In our case, an app, our app consists of three components. We have web, which is our front end. We have two backend services, foo and bar, right? And so a service mesh is made up of two components, a control plane and a data plane. The control plane is a command and control interface. It's what humans or other computers are going to use to interact with the service mesh. And then we have our bits that do work, which are those proxies. And we refer to those proxies all together as the data plane. So, using Linkerd, what we do is we take our traffic and we route it, instead of directly from application to application, we route it from application to proxy to application. So we had two new hops in the middle. And those hops give us some extra stuff, which is why we add in the mesh. In general, we describe a service mesh as adding security, observability, and reliability to your application, and doing it in a way that doesn't require you to make any changes to your application code, right? If you're an app developer, an app that is in the mesh and out of the mesh looks the same to you, right? You're sending your communication across the network and it's continuing to behave as normal, just slightly better. And if you're a platform team person, you're able to see a lot more about what this application is doing. You're able to encrypt and positively identify the various parties that are talking and kind of go from there. If you're looking to do more or learn more, there's a getting started guide on the Linkerd website, which will walk you through exactly how to get this up and running in your cluster. And I would bet you can get it done in about 15 minutes when you try it out.
Sure, cool.
That's the intro.
Excellent. So Jason, just kind of recap on that. So we're obviously talking about a service that, you know, is really geared for sort of Kubernetes clusters, and in terms of the capability that it provides us, sort of, let's say, inter-pod communication, if you want to call it that, and through that sort of process of, as you said, the data plane that it provides with those sidecar proxies and the control plane, then you have kind of a way for all the sort of traffic to flow through in terms of that. But as you said, it's I like the idea that it's actually not having to sort of disturb the applications or for the applications to be kind of aware of that environment, that they can actually sort of continue doing what they're doing, and the Linkerd sort of service mesh really takes care of all of the sort of the communication that's required. Anything in terms of, as you said, the observability, I think was one thing that you mentioned, security. So as we said, the applications opt out of that sort of process. And it's just reliability. Would that be for things like load balancing as well? Is that kind of one of the things you could do in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's as you get into the way it works, right? So once we have all these proxies out there, we can do all kinds of things, right? So like Kubernetes is great, right? Really handy. And I think of it as about the best infrastructure tool I've ever seen, right? Like it's a great way to automate declarative configuration management for your environment, right? Super awesome. What it doesn't do a great job of is, picking, imagine I had not one copy of foo, but 10, right? Picking which one it should go to, right? Is it in the same availability zone? Is it behaving badly? Is it healthy? Is it whatever, right? Linkerd or Kubernetes' base decision-making process is, I've got a list of endpoints and I'm going to cycle through them one at a time. It's called round robin, right? What Linkerd allows you to do is get a better routing decision process. The specific routing decision algorithm in Linkerd is called EWMA. And I'm not going to explain any more about it because that's not going to fit in 15 minutes, but you can check it out if you want to know more.
Excellent. Yeah. And I mean, obviously the idea of it sort of came about because there was that level of requirement for sort of the interpod communication that was needed. So is that kind of why sort of we're sort of in the age of service mesh these days? Is that kind of one of the reasons? What were maybe some other reasons as well?
So I worked on a platform team in the like pre-service mesh days, right? And the reality is, there's a reason that like Netflix OSS stack was so popular. There's a reason Spring Boot's awesome. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Spring Boot, right? But the point is when you're doing microservices, there are a lot of things that every single microservice needs to have, capabilities that it needs to be able to implement that are the same no matter what service you are. And when that functionality is imported into your application as a library, right? When I want to make a change to the way service discovery works in my environment, right? Say I have to update my Eureka, right? Which is a problem that I ran into back when I was doing the Netflix OSS stack. I had to go negotiate with every application team, say, hey, listen, I need you to upgrade to a new library that is consistent with both the existing version of Eureka and the version we're going to. Get them all to change it, then upgrade the Eureka, then move forward, right? Which slowed down the platform team, slowed down every single development team. And that's one example out of many, right? But the service mesh replaces, really what it does is it replaces the idea that we should have common microservice libraries in our apps, right? Instead, lets our apps just be the thing that they are, just be the web front end, just be foo, just be bar. We'll have another process that can sit right beside your application process, and it can be your ombudsman for the network. It will handle all your network communication, and you can just forget about it.
Cool. Excellent. So yes, give us a little bit of the details or highlights of the current release of Linkerd, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So we we back in November released Linkerd 2.11. So that was the first version of Linkerd that involved policy. So last year for Linkerd was the year of let's get TLS, or let's get MTLS. So that is mutual TLS. So just to be clear, mutual TLS is, when you talk to a bank, right? When you go from your computer to like a bank website, right? What you do is your computer will positively identify and then encrypt the communication between yourself and the bank website. That's TLS. Mutual TLS is when both sides, both in this case, both web and foo, are positively identified, and then the connection is encrypted, right? So that was really what 2021 was about for Linkerd. And then at the end of the year, we added this new thing, which is doing something with that ubiquitous MTLS, right? Specifically allowing us to say, allowing foo to say, hey, I'll accept requests from web, but if a request suddenly comes in from bar, right? I'm going to reject it because I don't, bar isn't welcome in my server, right? Only web is authorized, right? So the last release of Linkerd gave us the ability to do policy and server-side policy in particular. The upcoming release is all about client-side policy. So how do we, go from letting the server decide whether or not something should be allowed to letting the client decide what should it do with a given request.
Right. Excellent. That's great. Well, thank you, Jason. That was a great intro into Linkerd. Certainly a very exciting area to to be discussing. We could probably go on for ages, but we obviously don't have the time in this one. But hey, let's maybe we can do a demo in the next talk, you and I, and kind of go into a little bit more detail so folks can actually see kind of what it looks like and how it actually operates. Obviously, all the links for Buoyant and Linkerd will be in the description of the video. So we're going to provide loads of stuff in the description. And also, if you're interested in some of the previous talks that I've done with Jason, I think we did some stuff on CNCF Landscape and intros and things like that around that. So again, descriptions of that will be in the text and the notes of the video. So it only leaves me to thank you, Jason. Great to see you again, and hopefully I'll catch you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for watching the talk. Please subscribe if you want to support the channel, and see you next time.